Hello and welcome back to The Secret Life of Science Fiction Writers, a series where I highlight a specific writer and give a general overview of their writing career, but also the behind the scenes, their secret life, their private life, their day jobs, and whatever else that is quite interesting about them. And in honor of Hal for the holidays, that an event that was created by Brandy at the Book Collectic, I have chosen Hal Clement. And this also fits in well with our this month for New Worlds November, created by the Bookish Bryants. But Hal Clement was born in Somerville, Massachusetts, May 30th, 1922. He died in Milton, Massachusetts, October 29th, 2003. His first published story was Proof in June 1942 in the science fiction digest Astounding. Now, he's been known as a hard SF writer, and actually the preeminent hard SF writer, where he used detailed science and very scientific literate writing to illustrate ideas in his stories. He was not so much interested in characters or character development or elaborate plots. Um, and he could have long stretches in his novels, especially detailing the science, working out how things were working or their effects of them, as well as later on abstract ideas, which sometimes become daunting for a lot of readers who are looking for just a simple story and a simple plot, and you're not going to get that for the most part with the writing of Hal Clement. And his first novel appeared in Astounding in 1949, uh, called Needle, and then he wrote a sequel to it in 1978 called Through the Eye of the Needle. But Needle is a first contact story on Earth. It's a juvenile. It's about a parasitic life form that comes to Earth, and it's part adventure story in a way, thriller a little bit, and detective. And there's lots of description of how this parasite, works and how it cohabitates inside the body of other beings. And there's detailed scenes for that. And it's also been, it is a juvenile, so it is again, the plot is very, very simplistic. And the characters are quite simplistic. It's more the idea of a parasitic life form. But his most notable work is the Mission of Gravity that was published in 1953, and it's part of the Mescaline series, and it's about a heavy gravity planet, and it's almost like a thought experiment here. Like how would or could a planet with heavy gravity work this way, where it goes from 3G, 3 Earth gravities, to 700G, 700 Earth gravities, and how does that work, and how does that affect explorers or people on the surface? And is and this is a recurring idea, this thought process of creating a planet and how does it work out, and with very detailed scientific uh, explanations for this, of the how and why. And um, and he was not interested so much in the plot or the characters. The reason for the story is the scientific basis, or the what if and how does this work. That's the basis for it. And then there's a plot too sometimes, and sometimes not too successful of a plot, and characters that sort of flesh out this idea, but it all is based on and comes from the thought process, the thought experiment of whatever he's using, or abstract idea. But he not only just did planets, or in off of Earth, he did return to Earth and do the same thought process, the same thought experiments, same ideas with this, and and uh, and as I say, the plot and characters usually take a back seat for the what if of the scientific explanation. And he wrote 15 plus novels that included a another juvenile or children's science fiction novel and a non science fiction novel as well. And several dozen short stories throughout his lifetime. His last published work was Noise, and that was published in 2003. But who was Hal Clement? Well, he was born Harry Clement Stubbs, and he went to Harvard for astronomy. He got a Bachelor of Science in Astronomy in 1943. And but he also, not only writing under Hal Clement as science fiction, he also painted astronomical science fiction art under the pseudonym George Richard. And after receiving his Bachelor of Science in Astronomy, he went on to get, in 1946, at the Boston University, a Master's of Education. And but during the Second World War, he was a pilot of a B-24 Liberator, and he made 35 combat missions over Europe. And then after the war, he stayed in the reserves for a while, and he retired with the rank of colonel. And he taught at Milton Academy. He taught science, but he also had a degree in chemistry as well. He was able to get a master's of science in chemistry as well, and he spent most of his life teaching at Milton Academy in Milton, Massachusetts, to high school students. But he also wrote articles on science and astronomy as well, some under his own name and some under his pseudonym Hal Clement, in various magazines, including Astounding. But in 1988, he was inducted into the Science Fiction Hall of Fame. And in 2000, he was made a Grand Master of Science Fiction by the Science Fiction Writers of America. So there you have it. There's Hal Clement in a nutshell. Harry Clement Stubbs. Harry Clement Stubbs. And he is still thought of as the preeminent, as I say, hard science fiction writer, but rather neglected of late. So if you've not read Hal Clement, then I would suggest looking at his stories for a huge sense of wonder and the exploration of scientific ideas in a literate way of scientific ideas as well, not airy-fairy science, I guess this is one way to put it, or pseudoscience. His ideas are grounded very much so in the scientific method. As I say, though, his plots and characters do leave a lot to be desired, but again, as I say, that is not the reason for the story. And as long as you know that going into it, I think somebody can enjoy his stories for that thought process or his abstract ideas. And I'll see you next week for another installment of The Secret Lives of Science Fiction Writers.